What's
What's
going
good in
on?
the hood? Hey, I had a good weekend.
You had a good weekend, huh? What happened
Yep,
this
yep.
weekend?
So the Denver Broncos won despite their lack of offense to end the weekend, which always makes for a good weekend. But on top of that, my Maryland Terps won and they became bowl eligible. Maryland basketball team won. They beat Oklahoma State, so they should be getting near the top 25. And then my undergrad alum, Shepherd University, they beat California at California and advanced to the Division II semifinals. So they actually host a game this weekend and are one game away from the national championship, where they lost last year. So maybe this year they can go get it.
So maybe this year they come up with a win, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. They got this cat, this wide receiver man, Billy Brown. So this dude set these records for the season. In 10 games, he had like 97 catches at 1,500 yards. And this past week in this playoff game that they won when they upset Cal, he had 11 catches for 189 yards and 3 touchdowns. So pretty beast mode out there. Maybe he'll get an NFL Combine invite. You hear me, Goodell?
We just want to welcome everybody to the Slightly Nocturnal Show. It is December 5th, 2016. And tonight we got sponsored by TGN. We're presented by Cobra Studios. Another sponsor there is NVIDIA and Ring the Bell. And Viper Blitz Gaming tonight as well. So, I'm Doc Holliday. I'm joined by Bo Machado here. And we're going to chat you up. If you didn't know, we're not on XM right now. So, if you want to, come over here to YouTube. If you're watching this later on, subscribe. It's free. Like the show. Dislike it. Tell us what you think in the comment section. Blow our Twitter up over at Cobra Studios. Myself and Bo both have Twitters. You can get us there. Instagram for Cobra and on our Facebook. So, and we're going to actually, I meant to tell Bo this earlier, but we're going to get into streaming on Facebook as well. So, if you are into that kind of shit, we're going to be there. So, there you go. Again, yeah. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. we're over there everywhere.
That's right. We're all over the world. And be interactive. Let us know what you guys like, what you want to hear, what you'd like to see change.
Yeah, if you want to see or hear us talk about something in particular, we'd love to do that. You can, of course, chat with us in the live show. I can't watch my Twitter the whole time, so the best thing to do to chat with us during the show is to go over on YouTube and watch us live. There's a big chat thing on the side. Ask us whatever you want there. So, and we'll be glad to help. We'll try to keep up with it. So, anyways, that's my little spiel about our social networks. Share it, folks. Best thing to do to keep this free is to share it. Share it and like it and tell everybody you know about it.
That's right. Help some brothers out.
That's right. We are making a go of it here, so we want to keep it free. We don't want to charge you a dime for it. We'll soon have it in a podcast form, hopefully on iTunes and SoundCloud, anywhere else, free of charge as well. So help us keep it free by telling your folks and sharing it on your social media. So let's jump into it. I guess the first thing I want to talk about tonight is this goddamn union for the MMA. So tell me your thoughts on it, Bo.
My thoughts? Well, they're officially an association and not a union.
So they're not. It's not a union. It's just an association.
That's what they said. Yeah, they did indicate that they're not a union. They're just an association.
So does that give them? I think that would almost give them less power.
Well, I think that their hope is because all these fighters basically are under contract with UFC. So I think that their hope is identifying as an association and a fighter-led association that they're going to pull guys in and the guys won't have to fear backlash because they're not joining a union. That's what I could get from it. It sounds like they will, at some point, whether they want to admit it or not, become a union, because I'm not sure how they're going to fight for the rights of the individual fighters without the power of like collective bargaining.
I think so too. I think they gotta have some kind of, if they're not a union, it seems like they wouldn't have any steam behind them to actually get shit done.
Right.
So, yes, somebody asking about my head. I bicked it. It's fucking baby smooth clean today.
Oh, it's like a baby's bottom.
Yeah, that's right. It's fucking smooth, and I fucking did that shit last night. Like right before I went to bed, it was about 3:00 in the morning, and of course we just had this. I'm up in Wyoming, and we have this huge fucking snowstorm hit us today, and it quit snowing this afternoon, and it's supposed to be the high tomorrow is 10, the low tonight is like -4, and it's supposed to be like that for the rest of the week. So it was bad timing to fucking shave my head like that. So I just
want to rub it and make it warm. Just rub it. Just back it up, flip it, rub it down.
I am going to probably try to go out of town though. So in the next couple of days, maybe to a little warmer climate.
Right. And make sure you have a beanie. Yeah,
today I was out a couple times. Been helping a buddy. He's trying to sell his house. He's going to be moving, and it's helping him put up some trim around his cabinets. We had to go to Home Depot, and goddamn, it was cold as fuck. So,
did you get the veteran discount?
The veteran discount at Home Depot?
Yeah,
no, I don't think I did.
Oh, if you ask them, you can get the veteran discount there.
I know, but that's something else we could talk about.
It's like 10%.
How I always feel. Why do I feel bad asking for that? I always feel bad. Like I always do you have a military discount or a veteran? I've always felt like I always felt bad asking for that. Why do I feel like that?
It's a good question.
I don't know. And I know I'm not alone with that. I know other vets. Some people have no problem asking for discounts. I don't. I just feel like I don't know. I feel bad about doing it. So.
Yeah. Well, you should get over that.
Bo Machado. I hope everybody saw the little clip that we put together about Bo on the internets of things last night. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
It was your opening line from fucking the last show where you talked about you're hiding your hookers and beer in the closet living in Myrtle Beach. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The title of it was, Ladies and Gentlemen, Bo Machado.
That's right. Well, see, today, you know what today is, right? Today is the anniversary of the end of Prohibition.
Oh, so in honor of that, you're fucking promoting some beer that's not paying us any money.
That's right. On the show. You know what? We can use new sponsors.
That's right.
And where I live in Myrtle Beach, a 12-pack of this is $6. So
that's not too bad, though, right? I haven't bought booze in years. Is that expensive?
Normally, when I lived in Wyoming, a 6-pack costs more there than a 12-pack of a here costs. So
is cheaper? Booze is cheaper there in Myrtle Beach.
Oh yeah, that's like my wife prefers the moonshine, and you can get a mason jar of moonshine for $4 here. It was $28 there.
Legit moonshine, or just some kind of branded moonshine?
Like it's like branded and in the liquor store.
Your wife likes the moonshine, eh?
Oh yeah, the apple pie.
Apple pie is good stuff. I remember. Oh man, I had a roommate that made it. God damn, it was fucking fabulous.
Yeah, it's good. So, yeah. It's like $4.25 or something for a mason jar of it. So I like that too.
I hear you. It's getting you fucked up. Gonna get fucked up.
Right. It's better than Boone's Farm from back in the day.
So what do you think about this union or this group, whatever the fuck they're calling it?
So I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. But you look at all the other major sports, and I would say MMA and especially UFC, minimally for the last 7 years, has been a significant sport. And then you look at what they pay fighters versus what they bring in, and there's nothing really collective bargained. There's no health care. There's no benefits for the fighters. It's fight and win and move up the chain, or be broke and figure out another career. So
and they're not going to let you be some kind of even if you wanted to fight and lose all the time, they're not going to pay you to do that.
No, right? Yeah.
They're gonna want a fresh face to come in every time and get their ass whooped.
Well, yeah, you see that with the older guys that, you know, at one point they were really good and then they become kind of placeholders like Jens Pulver back in the day. You know, some of those guys where they had been champs. Even BJ Penn, who was awesome for quite a while. You know, he became a guy.
Penn. We saw it with, I think Diego Nightmare Sanchez is kind of that way now. Where I used to, like, I remember when that guy was fighting, I was not a big fan of his. But I would cringe when somebody I liked had to fight him because I knew they were probably going to get their fucking ass whooped.
Oh, yeah. He always battled.
He was just he was a fucking nightmare. He just was. So.
Yeah. I still don't know that he beat my man the Carpenter in that fucking brutal bash they had, but
what's another guy? Brandon Vera. He's like a placeholder fighter now.
Yep.
I don't even think he fights for the UFC. I think he's in Bellator or something like that. But he just knocked somebody out the other night.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Man, that's probably his first knockout in about 5 years.
I remember when Brandon Vera, like, he went on a roll where he was great, and then some no-namer
he was fighting heavyweight, right?
Yeah, some no-namer beat him up, and that was like the last I fucking heard of him.
Well, and that's one of the things and that's why it makes sense to unionize. That's one of the things that happens. Like, you'll be on this stretch and winning, and you get beat by somebody you shouldn't get beat by, and then now nobody hears from you ever again.
That's it. You're gone. So, and I think there's like a prime, you know, like, I think that, you know, like the NFL has, you know, what you said, it's 3 years people are NFL.
Yeah, right? I think that's the average lifetime of an NFL player.
That's fucking crazy to me to think about, like, because when I was a kid, when I was really into NFL football in my teens and in my younger years, you know, it seemed like Deion Sanders and Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and all them, it seemed like they played for the Cowboys for years, you know. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it just seemed that way.
Well, no, they did play for years, but they were like special players, you know. So I just looked it up. According to the NFL Players Association, the average career length is 3.3 years.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's according to the Players Association. The NFL says the average career is about 6 years. So somehow the NFL is doubling what the Players Association tell us.
I think it's a good thing. You know, the UFC is made, in my opinion, made some questionable moves over the last couple years. One of them being the Reebok sponsorship. So I know that pissed a lot of people off, a lot of fighters off. You know,
well, it took money out of their pocket
exactly,
and put money in the corporation's pocket.
Where the fighters used to have these, you know, the only thing that they could sell was that poster that they brought up with them before the fight and their shorts. You know, and some fighters you saw, you know, early on fighters, you know, they sold every square inch of them shorts that they could get a sponsor on.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you know, and it's like Bo just said, it's taking money out of their pocket.
Well, and then that's the same money that they got to use to pay for their fight camp, to pay for any kind of health care they need.
And I don't even think they can, like, so I guess another part of that would be that they would put a hat on. You'd see them dudes, and they'd shove a drink in their hand at the end of the fight, and make them put their shirts on and shit. Yeah, so you don't see that anymore. And I remember, I'll never forget this fucking. I don't remember the fighter it was, but I thought it was hilarious. You could tell it was an empty can of something. And that motherfucker was constantly taking fake sips out of this drink as he was talking to Joe Rogan after a fight. It was fucking hilarious.
That's good marketing.
So
right
all
there.
that shit is gone. You know, like it is just, and it wasn't like they consulted the fighters on it or nothing. It just evaporated. So.
No, yeah, they made a corporate decision.
Yeah. So, and it was a money making decision the UFC made, but I think it was a questionable move. And I think that's why you saw some fighters leave at that time.
Oh yeah.
So.
But not very many though.
Not a whole lot,
more of that middle area that we were talking about that had kind of become the placeholder fights.
Yeah. So you saw the UFC cut a lot of fighters at that time too. So I think they cut like 40% of their fighters. They had, I remember Dana White talking about it. They had like 500 something people, and he said that they could only have 180 people on their roster, and so they cut them. You know, they cut a bunch of people. He talked about that on the Ultimate Fighter show. That's where I heard that. So.
Yeah, that number sounds right.
All right, so we probably beat that horse up a little bit. If you have questions like that or in the chat, we can come back to it. But right now we're gonna move on. Let's talk about Paul Ryan and Donald Trump seem to patch things up. They're on a day-to-day talking basis now, I guess. So
yeah, they're best friends.
It's good to see them patch things up. It's good in the terms that, you know, Trump and him are going to have to work together. So they might as well be on good terms if they're going to work together. Especially being in the same party. You know, they're both Republicans, so.
Yeah, and it just makes sense. If they truly want to get things done, the president has to be willing to work with them, and they have to be willing to work with him. Yeah. So, you know, and Ryan did back a little bit off of having called Trump a racist, and he said that his statements were racist, not Trump himself.
Doesn't that kind of make you a racist?
Apparently, you can say racist things and not be a racist.
That's awesome.
So, however that works.
We tweeted about this week too. I'd like to touch on it now. Let me find this chick's name so I don't murder it. Let's see. Oh, she was on the Daily Show. You recall her name?
Oh, yeah.
The chick from The Blaze. That's Ben.
Was it Mohan?
Tracy Mohan? Something like that. Stand by, guys. Let's see if I can find this. Alright. Looks like her name is Tommy Lahren. Was on Trevor Noah's show, The Daily Show, and she got on there and said some fucking crazy ass shit. She of course is from the Blaze Network. That's Ben, what's that dude's name? The fucking Mormon dude. I can't think of it. How come I not think of his name right now?
I don't know. You were married to a Mormon too in a past life.
Oh Jesus! Just air all
you
my
should know
goddamn
that.
dirty laundry.
I said a past life.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck is the owner of the Blaze Network, and she. I
didn't even know Glenn Beck was a Mormon.
Yes, Glenn Beck used to be really cool, and then he became a
Oh
Mormon.
no, he's not cool anymore. What?
He lost his fucking mind. So, you know, and me and Rocketman have talked about that on this show before. About where we both used to be big Glenn Beck fans, and Glenn Beck got sick real bad. Like, one of two things happened to Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck became a Mormon during this time when he got sick, and he used to have a show on Fox. Now, this is my opinion. This is my theory, my conspiracy theory about Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck used to have a show on Fox News. Glenn Beck, you know, the guy who would have the chalkboard behind him and write all kinds of shit on it and stuff like that. Glenn Beck he lost all his hearing and got real sick, and then at the same time became a Mormon or right before. But I really think that I really think that somebody did that to him and told him to shut his fucking mouth about some things. Because afterwards he changed his tune on a ton of shit. He was no longer so outward about some things that he used to be very passionate about. So, anyways, back to the Daily Show. Trevor Noah had this. Much? What's that?
I said paranoid much.
I just think that's the way of the world, man. I really do. I think.
You think that's the way of the world?
I think people. I do, man. There's how can you deny that kind of shit too? Like, anyways. I could go on forever about that. I can cite several other examples, especially the Clintons, where I think they have murdered people and gotten away with it. And other things. You know, the bankers. There was a bunch of big-time bankers that were going to expose a bunch of stuff, and all of a sudden they started dying. You know, self-inflicted gunshot wounds to the back of the head. Calling it a suicide. Nah, I don't think
that's
so.
That's a neat trick.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm going to kill myself, so I'm
going
to try to fucking... Yeah.
How to pull the trigger, maybe two-handed. It's like double fisting that barrel back here.
Literally, that happened. Like, they called it a suicide. So, but Trevor Noah had that chick from The Blaze on a show. She made herself, you know, she's really smart, and she just seemed like she just did. She's like, I don't like labels, or what did she say? Her opening line was, "I'm a millennial. I don't like labels." Like what? Like what? What did you just say? Like what?
She labeled herself when she said she didn't like labels.
Exactly. And his reaction was priceless. If you haven't seen it yet, go over to the Daily Show's YouTube channel. You can watch the entire extended clip over there. It's a pretty good watch. So
I like him.
I like him too. He's a huge liberal from the UK. Actually, I think he's from South Africa. But yeah, I like him. I think he's good for the Daily Show.
Yeah, he seems insightful.
I like though. So on a side note here, I like how all these network shows like now. So they're like trying to keep their so it's the Daily Show with Trevor Noah. You know, it's Last Week Tonight with what's his face. I like that show too.
Well, we're the Slightly Nocturnal show with Doc and Bo.
Yeah, but I don't label it. We don't label it like that, you know. Like, so I think they're
That's
doing that.
We're not millionaires yet.
I think they're doing that so they can keep the show alive if the host leaves, you know. Like they used to have.
Well, the Daily Show was Jon Stewart's show. So.
Yeah. So and then, you know, they had the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, you know. So and nobody ever called it the Tonight Show. Everybody called it Jay Leno's show. So and now I think Fallon is the host of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was Carson's show before it was his, though.
Yeah, which...
And was it Ed Sullivan before that? I could be wrong about that. Yeah, just to throw some history out there.
so
for the people that are older than 30. they might have watched some of these other...
than 30.
You are? Just barely.
Okay. So... Paul Ryan and Trump seemed to have patched things up, and then Trump made a fucking just like, you know, punch in the gut move to China, calls up old Taiwan. So in Taiwan, if people don't know, China has refused to recognize them as a country because China still thinks that they belong to the Chinese Empire. So that was a big slap in the face to China. I think it's a good move on Trump. It's a power move, I think. It's a move where...
What's the end game there? If it's a power move.
Oh, I think it's an import move, you know, to bring Taiwanese, establish a relationship. Because I don't think a president has called them and talked to them.
No one has. The information says that he was the first president since '79, I think.
Yeah, so I think that's a big power move. You know, he wants to... help establish that they're a country, and they're a prosperous nation too. You know,
a lot of your toys are made in Taiwan.
They are. So I think that he wants to move. You know, and maybe it's a power move to show China. You know, we're not dependent upon you. You know, and I think I don't think it's beyond Trump to say I don't know who has I think we owe China a bunch of money right now too.
$500 or some $trillion.
But who's to say, Trump? Who's to say what? So what happens if Trump gets in office in a year or so and just decides, I'm not paying you. We're not paying you back anymore. Like fuck you. Like what's gonna happen? What would be the?
So he treats it like one of his non-successful business ventures.
So I don't see that. I don't see where that's not a possibility, I think it's a flexing move by him for the U.S. by saying, we're going to broaden our horizons a little bit, so. And I think he called, who else did he call? He called somebody else, too.
Oh, I don't know. He called a whole list of people.
Oh, let's have a gander here. Oh, of course, the article that I had saved doesn't want to go anywhere. Oh, there it is. All right. He called the Philippines.
Oh yes, he interacted with the crazy drug killer.
We talked about that on the show before too, guys. Like that dude is fucking insane.
In the membrane. So I don't know if that's a call to be proud of or not.
He invited that guy to Washington, the Philippine president. Yeah, there's a question about if we're gonna talk about Italy's shit that happened last night. We will. We'll touch on that here in a few minutes. He's gonna go visit Pakistan. Which good
And
luck
that's an
there,
issue
buddy.
because of, well, that's an issue too because of our relationship with India.
Mm-hmm.
So that, there's some concern there over how that's going to play itself out. But yeah, good luck there. I mean, and I know some very nice Pakistanis, but they live here in America, so I don't know so much about over there. But I will say they go home for certain holidays and things. So
So,
you need moderates to do business. Maybe he knows some moderates there.
so he's offered a casual invitation to the British PM. Basically, he told her.
Yeah, it was real casual. If
He's
if
like,
you're in the U.S.,
if you're
look
in
me
the
up.
U.S., stop on by.
Yeah, yeah. So like, let's look at the country who's been our closest ally, and rather than say, "Hey, come have dinner," let's say, "Well, if you're in town, we'll grab a bite."
Right.
I think McDonald's is open.
He also met with Nigel Farage. That's the guy who led the Brexit thing, which is a huge slap in the face to the British PM right now. So
The same one who he didn't give a formal invite to hang out.
right. So Trump's mixing it up. I think he's he's going to do things his way. And he's not the president right now.
So one thing about that though. So do you think any of that has to do with the fact that she's female?
Oh God, no, I don't. I would. Fuck, man. I'm sure it can be construed that way, but
I'm not saying it does or doesn't. I'm just saying,
yeah, I hear you. I mean, I don't think it is. I think that Trump has been, he's been very vocal about,
about grabbing pussies.
about his, what he thinks of the UK right now. So, I know I would believe that Trump is probably not a big proponent of NATO, so I would, and I think we've touched on this. I might have talked about this on a different show, but I would see Trump leading an exit to NATO. Either it being abolished or the U.S. leaving. I could see that happening. So
Yeah.
and that is something that he himself could do. He could basically, prevent anybody ambassador-wise from going to the meetings anymore. He could refuse to host things. So,
do you think Congress would fight him on it if he wanted to do that?
well, I'm just saying he could probably self-destruct it himself.
Yeah. But I don't know that Congress would even stand in the way of that.
I don't know either. I think NATO was a useful tool at one time, but it has outlived its purpose. So, the only purpose it should be is it should take over what the U.S. does currently, and that is the world police.
Yeah.
I think the NATO should when we pay a fuckload of money into NATO for them to do that. So and they should just continue. They should take over the responsibility. So
that, or they should pay us for doing it.
I'll tell you what, too. I'd say in the next 50 years that either NATO or an organization like NATO,
Spectre for all the James Bond
that's right,
fans.
bitch. Yeah, that's what we'll just call it. I say Spectre has they basically form an army. I say that happens in the next 50 years. I say, and they'll probably say anybody from the organizations within this, the countries within this can join this. So I say that happens. I see lots of things pointing towards something like that happening. So, and I don't know that I'm opposed to it. I think there should be some kind of, thing like that, because if you look at what NATO has now, like, I've been exposed to what NATO's army or checking devices looks like. They are. I think that they could form a fighting force and be the world's police, because basically that's what they're supposed to be.
It makes sense. So basically their own international army.
Yeah, like a military.
The thing is, where would they base that, or would
I'm
they
sure
base
a country would
small?
have to host them.
Yeah.
And they could be like how the U.S. has, where they have, like the U.S. has bases all over the world, like Korea,
Right.
Japan.
Colonized.
So
We've colonized the globe.
So and the U.S. shares bases with in the England with at Lakenheath and Mildenhall. So they're UK bases, but the U.S. has a presence there. So and I'm sure that it could be set up just like that.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
I think that that's something that needs to happen, and I think that's going to happen. So.
Yeah, well, we have international banking, we have international everything else. So an international army.
If you believe in the Bible and the end times, that's exactly
The
what's
end of
gonna happen.
days.
That's exactly what's going to happen. So,
Revelations.
oh goodness, we need to get somebody on our show that's a huge Bible thumper and just let them go to town talking about that. That's like one of my favorite things to fucking talk about in Christianity. I like to hear these people tell us how the world is going to end. So. Alrighty.
Well, I'm trying not to sin too much so that I can go to the right place and not the wrong place.
The afterlife. It's such a... I don't know. I almost can't fathom it in my mind. Like, when people talk about... Especially Christians. When they talk about heaven, like, it's forever. Like, what... That doesn't... Like, forever in my mind does not make sense. How are you going to live for... Like, you'd be bored out of your mind if you're doing the same thing over and over again, right?
Well, it's your soul, though, right?
Yeah, but, they talk about how... It's still you. Like, you'd be recognizable to other people. To other souls. I don't know. It just seems, I'm not saying that's bullshit. I'm just saying that I want somebody to explain it to me. Alright, you want to cover you want to cover some sports stuff, or you want to do something else?
Yeah, I can run down sports if you're ready. You ready for some sports?
Let's do some sports with Bo.
All right. So Russell Westbrook, who I mentioned last podcast, he continued his streak of triple doubles. He's now at 5, and that's the most since Michael Jordan in 1989 posted those numbers in 5 straight games. He has let's see, Jordan had 15 for that whole time, so he already is third of the way through what Jordan had for the entire season.
Where do you think Westbrook's at in his career? Do you think he's got years left, or has he only got a couple?
Oh, yeah. No, he's got years left. He's right in the prime. As a matter of fact, so if you were to ask me the 3 best players in the NBA right now, I would probably say Russell Westbrook is one right this minute, because LeBron is in those taking games off, years. So we're building. So I would say Westbrook is 1, Harden was 1B, and Durant was 1C. And the Oklahoma City Thunder have to be killing themselves because all 3 of those bastards were on the same team until they traded away Harden. So they essentially could have the 3 best in their prime players all on one team if they would have just kept them intact. Nothing against LeBron. You're the greatest player right now in the NBA. You're just not playing as well as these other guys at this exact moment. But if it was a 7-game series, I'd take LeBron.
God, man.
What's that?
Fucking brown nosing up to LeBron?
He's the fucking king still, brother. And I'm a Bulls fan, so it hurts to say that.
Ugh.
But he is the best right now. But as far as guys in their prime, because right now you got to look at LeBron. He's over 30, so he's kind of past those prime years. So guys who are in their prime, those are the 3 kind of premier dudes.
When did Golden State break up that trio?
Or Oklahoma City?
Or Oklahoma City, yeah, sorry.
About, I want to say 4 years ago. So it was 3 or 4 years ago when they decided to keep Serge Ibaka, who is now not on the Thunder either. But they decided to keep him and get rid of Harden and shipped Harden off to the Rockets. And Harden, while he hasn't had all these same triple-doubles in a row, he's damn near averaging a triple-double right now too, which is why I had him right there with Westbrook. So
who's number 1 in the NBA right now?
The number 1 team?
Yeah. Who you got?
I want to say the Warriors are still.
Golden State?
Yeah.
The Bulls are looking
the Cavaliers
good
are losing,
right?
We're back down to earth a little bit lately. I think we're 12-8 right now. And we suspended Rajon Rondo for tonight's game for a conduct detrimental to the team.
What did he do?
Apparently, in last night's loss, he mouthed off at an assistant coach and chucked something in his direction.
Who's the
So,
coach that got tossed out of a game the other day?
Doc Rivers, the
Is that
Clippers.
who it was? Doc Rivers got tossed?
Mm-hmm.
What did he do?
I don't even remember what he did, but I'm pretty sure Doc was the coach that got tossed.
Okay. All right, we'll continue with your sports deal there, bud.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So I'll move off of players and on to coaches, and then we'll kind of talk about your thoughts on this. So Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, anybody who follows the NBA knows he's had some back issues. Well, recently he admitted to pot use due to debilitating, painful back surgeries. I'm just going to kind of read this quote here. He said, "I guess maybe I can even get in some trouble for this, but I've actually tried it twice during the last year and a half when I've been going through this chronic pain that I've been dealing with." He said this on the Warriors podcast. See Steve Kerr come on our show. We'll let you say this stuff. He said, "After a lot of research, a lot of advice from people, and I have no idea," and I'm saying I as him, "and I have no idea if maybe I would have failed a drug test or not. I don't even know if I'm subject to a drug test or any laws from the NBA." So this is interesting, right? Because we know players in the NBA certainly are. So coaches apparently are not subjected to the same requirements that their players are, at least in regards to substance use. He went on discussing it and said he's not a pot person. It doesn't agree with him. He tried it and it didn't agree with him at all. He's not an expert on the stuff, but he does know this. If you're an NFL player in particular and you've got a lot of pain, I don't think there's any question pot is better for your body than Vicodin. And yet athletes everywhere prescribe Vicodin like it's vitamin C, like it's no big deal. So, and again, these are Steve Kerr quotes. And then the end of the article that I was reading from says the NBA's collective bargaining agreement does not call for drug testing for coaches, though continued minutes for Anderson Varejao in the Golden State front court, coupled with this proclamation, may force the league to look into monitoring its coaches. So I don't know if they're gonna, look at exploring that, but I would think they would be exploring their marijuana protocol in regards to everything, the same way the country is right now. So, but what do you think about Steve Kerr? One, his admission that he's smoking in a league that doesn't allow its players to smoke, though obviously doesn't discipline coaches for it, and his also calling out the NFL for their prescription of Vicodin and then their stringent reaction towards marijuana use.
My thoughts on Steve Kerr would be that if it is, first of all, he's in California where they just legalized pot. Second of all, if he's in a non-drug testing job, I would say that they should just follow state law or federal law, probably state law.
So what do you think, though, the fact that he's in a non-drug testing position supervising people who have to be drug tested?
I think that's the nature of the beast.
Oh, the hypocrisy. Okay, that's just the nature of the beast.
If he's not, that's the NBA's deal. If they're now, I still think that he shouldn't show up to practice high on cocaine or a game. But if he smoked marijuana or whatever he did, and for pain management, I think he cited some very good things, saying Vicodin. Both of us have medical backgrounds, know that we know the pros and cons to taking Vicodin over an extended time. It can become very much addictive. It can be, I think that, marijuana, everybody knows that I'm a huge proponent of marijuana. But
I think that he was doing the right thing. I think the NFL and the NBA both need to explore their drug policy.
I don't think he did anything wrong, especially if it's not specifically written down that he cannot smoke. If he's allowed to smoke pot, and it's not specifically saying that he can't. He's not a player. It's not helping the team gain anything or they don't lose anything or gain anything by him smoking pot. You know, I don't. It's not. You know, he's not taking a performance-based drug.
What about the perception that he's a role model, and now
that's
he's
the other side
come
to
out?
it.
Yeah.
But then I think you go back to, okay, this is it's legal in the state that our organization practices basketball in.
But not every state that every team practices basketball in.
The benefit of coaching at Golden State. So
well, that's a benefit. That and having some of the best players and maybe the best team in the NBA.
I think that he probably has not done anything wrong. If he had done something wrong, it would have been addressed right away.
Yeah.
I think it's probably what do you call it? He probably did the right thing by coming out and saying it and letting somebody else, you know, blast out on Twitter or on the news somewhere on ESPN, you know, we saw Steve Kerr smoking pot, you know, or Steve Kerr was, you know, allegedly. That was the right way to do it, for him to come out and say that. So, and I think it's a good platform for him to get out and say, you know, the NBA and NFL need to look at these things, you know, because
he didn't really call the NBA out, but he did call the NFL out.
It's Steve Kerr, you know, people respect him.
Yeah, well, and they should. As a player, he was a 6 or 7 time champion. He won championships with the Bulls and the Spurs, and then he's been the coach of a team that won the championship. So, obviously, when it comes to the game of basketball, he knows a thing or two.
Yeah. So that's my opinion about it, you know. So it's just that it's an opinion. So I don't think it's in the end. I don't think that it's it doesn't help or harm the team in any kind of way performance wise. But there is the other side of it that he is a role model. So
when Draymond Green smokes a doobie tonight, and you're courtside at that game tomorrow, and he's getting suspended for his use, even though his coach got away with it, you wouldn't have any issue with that?
No, because I feel like players are held to different standards. That would be the same thing as saying, you know, Brock Lesnar getting popped for something and his trainer getting popped for something. His trainer really doesn't have anything to do with what he's doing, you know, when it comes to the show. And in the end, that's what it is. It's a show. The NBA is a show. The UFC is a show. The performers that are, you know, in the spotlight are the participants. And those that help them get them there are not, you know, the coach can only do so much. He's helped train you. He's helped prepare you. He's run you through drills. Now when the show comes, it's your turn and your time to shine and do the things that you're paid to do and that you know how to do. And that'd be my opinion about it. So.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure everybody and their mother will have something negative to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious because you were defending the Shield last week about, you know, the Baltimore Ravens and their penalty play. So I know you're all about kind of defensive of the sportsmanship of things and how the leagues look to the public eye. So I just was curious what your take was.
I think that's two different situations, though. Like I said, did the Ravens get fined at all? Did anything come of that?
No.
So, in the NFL's eyes, they didn't do anything wrong. Now, I personally think they did, but you know, it wasn't the coaches though that did that shit. Though it was the fucking players.
You don't think the coaches coached them to do that?
Oh, I think they did. Yeah, but that in the end, like I just said, in the show, on the field, those are the guys who pulled the trigger and did it. You know.
Okay. That makes sense.
So
I didn't see anything wrong with that.
And that's just my opinion about it. So. All right. You want to talk any more about that, or you want to? What's the next thing you got?
No, I'm cool moving on. I was just curious where you stood on that.
Yeah,
we'll jump to the Shield. Your favorite sport. You ready?
The NFL. Yeah.
So, and this is gonna warm your heart. So the Cowboys are the only team in the NFC East that won this past week. And with that win, they clinched a playoff berth with 4 weeks left in the season. And if they win this week, I believe they can clinch the division title. So you got to be pretty hype about that, right? As like this huge Cowboys
I'm a
follower.
huge Cowboys fan. They are playing the New York Giants, though, who is their only loss this year.
Well, and by winning that game, that's what would essentially clinch the division for them outright. Because the Giants are also the second place team in that division.
So I think they're gonna win. I saw something though on ESPN last night that gives the Giants the advantage in that game though. So I don't know where they must have some plethora of info that I do not have. So
probably your guys' defense is more suspect than New York's, and so their expectation is that New York's defense will be able to do something to stop your offense a couple of times, and your defense will struggle to do that in return against New York.
I just noticed this too. Bo Machado has a Broncos fucking sweatshirt on. How fucking warm is it there in fucking Myrtle Beach?
Today it was 51 degrees.
Okay, so you can get away with wearing a sweatshirt.
Yeah. That's right. I wore this shit to work too, and the Panthers fans here in South Carolina were not too happy with it.
Fuck them. The only good thing they got at fucking Carolina is Cam Newton, and he didn't even play this week.
No, he didn't. He just didn't play the first play because he didn't wear a tie.
Because he did. Is that what the deal was?
Yeah, it was a dress code violation.
Okay, all right. Do your thing.
He didn't wear a tie.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, all right. So the only other narrative I wanted to provide was in relation to the Seahawks, and I was just going to run down through the scores. So the Seahawks blew the Panthers out, which is why I was, you mentioned my Broncos, and I talked about these Panthers fans here. And in that route, I think they won 40-7. But anyway, even though it was a win, it was really a loss for Seattle because their All-Pro safety Earl Thomas broke his leg, and the loss of that significant member of the Legion of Boom is very damning on their long-term playoff prospects, I think, because he's always been that kind of safety valve over the top that kind of saves those guys when they gamble a little bit underneath. So losing him, I think, will really hurt that defense. You want to talk about the bolo tie since we're on that game, and then for the lack of a bolo tie or whatnot?
That's the Seattle game you're talking about.
Yeah. Seattle blew out the Panthers. Yep.
So and then he talked about he might be retiring after he broke his leg.
Yeah, I think that was more just spur of the moment talk.
Okay.
From what I gather, some of the other guys on the team have addressed that, and even the coach, and they said that it was kind of just emotion talking. You know, you're a young guy with
leg. I've been there.
Yeah, that shit ain't gonna feel good, right?
I might be done with a lot of bullshit right at the moment too if I broke my leg. Like, fuck this. I'm not ever doing the show again. I'm retiring. I broke my fucking leg.
That's right. So so they lost, or they won that game 40-7 when he broke his leg. So the Panthers lost by 33 points, and I believe Cam missed like the first play of the game due to that
the lack of a violation?
dress code violation. He didn't for not wearing a tie basically, and it's not like he looked bad. He had like a turtleneck, a coat, a hat because he always has one of those hats. But so apparently it's a rule.
Wear a tie. That he had a bolo tie on?
No. I was joking that he could have had a bolo tie on.
Okay.
Phillip Rivers style, and then that would have sufficed. But Cam is too stylish for the bolo tie, apparently, and instead he just chose to say, no ties matched my outfit, so I didn't wear a tie. That was his opinion on the matter.
So if you have a dress code violation, you don't get to play in the first play. That's it.
That's whatever the coach decides, because it's a team violation, not an NFL. So he violated a team rule. So the coach then has to determine what's the appropriate response to the violation.
Well, the coach then has set the standard. Then at that point,
right.
So if you violate the dress code policy, you just got to sit out the first play. Boo, fucking who?
Maybe.
Well, no. If he did something different for another player, it might be time to get a lawyer involved.
I don't think lawyers work the same in that particular genre of
But you know what I'm
employment.
saying? Like, I'd have a fit if I decided as a player, okay, next week I'm not wearing a tie either. So all I got to do is sit out the first play of the game. And if something worse happened to me, like if if it was a whole quarter or a whole game, I'd have something to say about that shit. Because you took Cam Newton, who was the star of your team, obviously the star, and the worst punishment he's not playing the first play. That's
Right.
so basically he sets the precedent. This is the rule, and this is the consequence if you break the rule.
But wait, what was Cam Newton? The what of the team?
Wait a sec. You want to say he's getting special privilege?
He's the what of the team?
He's the star of the
Well,
team.
I think it goes two ways. One, I think that it was a minimal punishment to show that the coach is in control of the team and not the player. So you can't get away with not following dress code and other such team rules. Now, I think that if it was somebody besides Cam Newton, that they're probably looking at more than missing a single play or a single series.
That's fucking horseshit, though.
It depends on how important you are to the team. You know that's the reality.
Christ.
That is the reality. It's about wins and losses and your significance on the field. If you're
in the end, it's a team though. Where's the fucking I in team? That'd be the speech I'd give.
If you're a backup right tackle, you're probably not playing the whole.
Then the whole fucking team shouldn't wear a tie. Like this to fucking see where that shit would go. I don't know. That's my opinion about it. Like you can't have different punishments for different people. Like that's
Of course you can. That's how the world works.
Why do you fucking?
Do you pay everybody the same money? Do you have the same expectations for everybody? No.
What do you like? If I commit a murder, if you and me
so now a murder and wearing a bow tie are the same thing.
I'm saying, like, I'm trying to make an example here, a correlation between the two. Like, if I commit a murder and you,
how do they correlate?
Like I'm saying, like the punishment should fit the crime. Like. You can't. What the fuck? Like, how the fuck? I don't even understand that logic. Like, how the fuck if I didn't wear a tie and I was, if say I was on the starting whatever team of the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton, so if both of us didn't wear ties and I set out a quarter and he set out a play, like that doesn't fucking equal out. That doesn't, So
is the world fair?
No, but I think that sets a precedent though. Like, people are not fucking special. That's just my opinion about people. Like
actually, some people are special.
No,
like guys in the NFL.
Who the
those
fuck
guys
is
are
special? No, they're not. They're fucking.
Yeah, they have special talents and they work hard to make themselves better at those special talents. Guys in the NBA.
They're just fucking better than other people are. They're better at it than me. But at the same time, I'm better at other things that they're not. That doesn't make me fucking
They had natural
special.
athleticism, but then most of those guys worked their ass off way harder than people want to believe in order to be there and to be as good as they are.
Oh, I'm not. I don't give them any kind of discredit that they're not hardworking, but that don't make them special. I don't think anybody is special. I don't think that. I'm not a believer of that. That's like people to say they don't see color. That's the fucking most bullshit statement I've ever fucking heard in my life.
I got a colorblind friend.
You know what I mean, though. Goddamn it! Like
he can't see green.
When people say that they don't see, I don't see color. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's a bullshit statement. People are not fucking special. People are just better at different things than other people. So
maybe
that's why there's stars in the NFL. That's why there's stars in the NBA. That's why there's.
Doesn't that make them special in some particular way?
No, this makes them gifted that way. I guess this term special.
Gifted and special.
I don't think that they're like special. I don't want people to think that I think people are special. That's one of my big things about having this show.
Listen, I think you're special.
I'm not fucking special. What am I special about? Like, I'm a fucking human being.
Sometimes I think you're real special.
I think that people are just people. Like, and they're more talented in other areas than other people. And I think that's what makes the world the awesome place it is. And people are fascinating, But I don't think anybody is termed, like, the term special. Like, that's a special person. Like, the only special people, I guess you could use that as, like, if somebody had, like, if they were mentally retarded. Or if they had a,
Oh, I knew you were going to talk about the short bus. Man. I only rode it for, like, a week.
And even then, like, those people are challenged. So, I don't. Yeah, the term special, man, it just irks me.
Yeah, I could tell.
Because nobody's fucking special. You need to watch the fucking movie Fight Club and fucking learn a thing or two. If you think people are fucking special.
That is a good movie.
You know what happens to special people? Special people get cancer. Cancer kills special person. That's what fucking happens. Special person's
That doesn't mean they
raging
weren't
bile
special
duct.
till they. That doesn't mean they weren't special until they died.
They're not special. I don't mean any offense, but you're not fucking special. You're just better at things than other people. You're gifted at different things, and that's what makes the world go round, and that's what makes people live in it, and it makes the whole world fucking fabulous. So
I don't know, buddy. I think I am pretty special.
oh,
My mom's told me plenty of times.
well, you know, I'm glad your mom thinks you're special. This is what this show is all about. Differences of opinions, baby.
That's right. That's right. And it's okay that I'm correct and you're incorrect.
Hey, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. You self-centered, righteous prick.
Oh,
You
I don't think I'm a narcissist at all.
You pretentious fuck.
I'd never clinically diagnose myself as such.
Oh man. Oh my god. I remember the first like time we hung out at my house together. You were talking to me. We got talking about something, and in the middle of it, I was like, "Oh my god, this motherfucker's analyzing me. He's trying to get inside my head." Like I was like, "Fuck, I've probably said too much now."
I wasn't doing that. I don't think I think people think I do that, but I don't think I do that.
Oh, I think you probably just naturally do it, bud. You do it on a daily basis.
I don't know, maybe.
Whether you think you're doing it or not, you probably do. It's just probably part of your personality.
Yeah, you might be right. Like there's some version of assessment going on. That's how I know how special people are.
There you go. I know I do it. Like I immediately, if I meet somebody new, I gauge a lot of things on, you know, if somebody shakes my hand, if they remember my name, a lot of things, you know. And every male to male relationship, whether it be, you know, if they're you know, and even females, somebody is going to be the alpha in that relationship. And so there's always that. They talk about this, and I'm sure you've heard of this in studies. You know, in the first 24 hours when two guys meet each other, there is that fight for dominance in that relationship. Now, whether it doesn't have to be physical, but there is a fight for it.
Oh, yeah?
Wouldn't you think so?
I don't know.
I firmly believe that. You know, like somebody is going to be the alpha in that relationship.
I just partner with everybody.
Bo is the gay friend to everybody.
We're all special.
Oh
we're
my
all
God.
special.
So, and I don't mean anybody's lesser than anybody. Some people just have a more dominating personality than other people.
That's true. That's true. Some people are more flexible versus inflexible.
Yes. I agree. I know that I get very, like, I am very go with the flow when I get drunk. Like, I'm not so much that way when I am a sober person, but I am kind of down for whatever, except gay butt sex. When it comes to fucking.
He says that now, folks.
So.
Let's just say I always slept on my back.
I've never been drunk around you.
No, I know you haven't. So.
But you've had a couple around me before.
That's right.
I don't know that I've ever seen you drunk either, though.
Nah. I try not to tie one on too often these days. I'm getting old in the years there. You can't see it. The salt and pepper is starting to break through in the facial hair on the sides of my head.
All right, so we're at the hour mark. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, let me run down all these scores real quick.
Okay.
So you can cry about any of these teams that you wanted to win who did. So the Cowboys, who we already mentioned, won. They won 17-15. And I did want to say, you know, because you always try to say that I'm just in the Cowboys and don't care for the Cowboys. I thought that they got a solid win in a game that they didn't play very well against a good team. And that's the sign of being a really good team, when you can play poorly and still beat somebody else who's a pretty good team.
Minnesota is not a bad team either, so that's
they have a really good defense. So, the Lions continue to stay in first place in that division. They beat the Saints, and they actually went to New Orleans and won 28-13. And Drew Brees threw no touchdowns for the first time in I don't even know how long. So that's pretty big.
Congrats to the Lions.
Yeah, how about that? The Denver Broncos won. Just mention that again. The offense was not very good, but the defense was special again. Had a pick six.
I'm probably get shot for saying that shit around here. There's a lot of Broncos fans here.
I know you are in Wyoming. That is Broncos country. Although I will say, so the bullshit of Wyoming. So I moved to Wyoming, and they don't even have a local channel to watch the fucking Broncos on.
Nope.
What kind of shit is that? How do you not have a local channel with the Broncos on it? Come on, Wyoming.
It's fucking third world country.
You're better. You're better than that. You're better than that. So the Packers beat the Texans. Aaron Rodgers looked good again. The Ravens beat the bejesus out of the Dolphins and ended their win streak, 38-6. Man, they stomped on them. That's like a mud hole in your ass beating. The Raiders won 38-24 over the Bills. The Steelers beat the Giants 24-14. The Cardinals beat the Redskins 31-23, and all of my Redskins fans have been crying foul all day on Facebook about that. So apparently, Redskins fans think that the Redskins were cheated.
Cry me a river, bitch. Cry me a river.
I can't imagine. The Buccaneers beat the Chargers, so the Buccaneers are on a win streak. They're playing pretty well. The Bengals blew the doors off the Eagles 32-14. The Chiefs got a big win at Atlanta 29-28. And Eric Berry, who returned home because he is from that area, and he is a cancer survivor, he actually had a pick six and ran a 2-point conversion back. So props to him in his homecoming. Not a fan of the Chiefs winning as a Denver Broncos fan, but they look good. And if I were to pick a team that's likely to win the division, I think they will jump the Raiders and potentially win the AFC West.
Really,
and,
the Raiders?
And they're quietly doing that. The Chiefs are, nobody's talking about how good they are. The Bears beat the shit out of the 49ers. Colin Kaepernick, who I played in fantasy and who fucked me over, was the worst quarterback in like history for 3 quarters. I think he completed 1 of 5 passes. Got me -4 points in fantasy, the cocksucker. And so
just let
enough
us know
of that.
how you really feel.
Enough of that. And then the Patriots beat the Rams in New England. Surprise there. And it was Tom Brady's 201st victory. Congratulations, Tom. That is the that's Tom. The most victories. So, and then earlier we mentioned the Seahawks. They lost Earl Thomas, but they did beat the Panthers 40-7. And tonight the Colts and Jets are in action.
Who's winning that game?
That's a good question. I can tell you here real quick. Let me go into fantasy and see if I'm losing by any more than the 70 points I'm already down by.
And if we need to, like, you just let me know when we can stop whenever.
It is 17-3 Indianapolis.
So the Colts
and there are top. Yeah, they're at the 2-minute mark in the second quarter, so they're at the 2-minute break right now. And Andrew Luck is having himself a decent game. He's got 18 fantasy points already for all you fantasy players out there. So if you're smart and started him like I told my wife to do in her league where she's about to take first place over.
You vicariously living through your wife's fantasy league.
Sadly, my 2 fantasy teams are going to be on the outside looking in, it appears, when the playoffs start next week. But I was able to coach up another team.
Are you playing in cash play?
No, it's just for pride, and my pride has been damaged. But I will say each of my fantasy teams had 3 significant injuries. I lost Sammy Watkins, Adrian Peterson, and C.J. Anderson in one league, and Sammy Watkins, Adrian Peterson, and Jamal Charles in the other. So pretty significant. Like 3 of my first 4 picks got injured in both leagues. So. I tried to fight my way into the playoffs, but I missed it by a game because it looks like I'm going to lose both of my last games there. So, damn it. Enough of that. I feel like crying now.
Let's move off the NFL.
The depression sinks in.
You got to go through the stages, man. Denial.
That's and anger.
All right,
and the one good thing is I got beat so badly in both those leagues that I don't have to look at my bench and be like, oh, if only I would have played that guy. No, I got like 100-point ass whippings. So there was nothing I could have done. I just wasn't supposed to win.
Damn.
Yeah. When you just catch beatdowns like that, you don't have to feel as bad because you're not like, oh fuck, I left this guy on the bench and he would have won the game for me. No, none of my guys on the bench would have won those games for me. All right. So you want to move on to college football now?
Let's talk about something real quick.
Yeah.
So we're probably not. There's several stories on here I want to cover, and I don't want to keep you longer than you want to be on here tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
So what do you want to think about having a Wednesday Thursday show then? You want to try to do Wednesday as well, or does that not work for you in your schedule?
That's probably fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
All right, so we'll probably just finish up sports and call it a night, and then there's several stories from tonight that we really need to cover.
Do you want to jump off of sports and we'll pick sports up on Wednesday, or do you want to stay with sports? What do you want to do? See, I'm the flexible one in this relationship, folks.
Oh, I don't care. I just know it's probably going to take an hour to talk about either, because if we're going to continue on sports, it's probably going to be another half hour, because I got some shit I want to talk about. So if you want to do another half hour, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm cool doing that. That'll put us about the 10-15 mark. I'm good with that.
Okay, so let's finish.
That still gives my wife a little bit of my time, which is what saves me from being in too much trouble.
All right. Well, then maybe we don't need to do Wednesday night. Maybe we can just finish it up on Thursday. So,
okay.
So let's just continue on sports because there's things on your list here I want to talk about. So.
Yeah. So we'll jump into the BCS playoffs, which for those who don't know,
fuck a goat.
Alabama's and I did say at the end of the last podcast when we were talking about this that I thought it would hold true, and it did. All those teams stayed in.
I got your list here. You were wrong, and I was wrong, but I got your list here. I wrote it down. Let me find.
Oh yeah, I was wrong about where they'd be at, but I was right about the 4 teams staying.
Yeah. And both of us based off our things on wins and losses. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Alabama's 1, and they'll play Washington, who is 4, and then Clemson jumped Ohio State to 2, and Ohio State fell back to 3, and they'll play. So that was where I was wrong. I thought OSU would stay 2 and Clemson would stay 3. But
that's okay. Goddamn if the Big 12 is not gonna bitch. So
tell us about their bitching.
Oh well, what's his face? The Big 12 commissioner. He gets on fucking ESPN the other day. What's this cat's name? I don't even know his name.
I don't know. I can find it for you.
It don't even matter.
You go ahead and tell us what he's doing, and I'll find his name.
Oh, he's complaining. He's complaining. His argument is based off of what's the school that didn't get in a couple years ago?
TCU.
They told him that.
That's because he knew he couldn't complain about Oklahoma because they got beat by a team who's in there.
I don't think, and he made it very apparent that he wasn't complaining about this year. He said that, and he said it twice in his statement.
Bob Bowlesby is his name,
and I think he has a legit gripe. Now, whether it's I don't know. The only way that it gets better is if they add more teams to the playoff scene. Which
they need to do.
His complaint was that, TCU got bounced a couple of years ago from the playoffs because they didn't have a championship game. And so this year, the championship winner, Penn State, didn't get in the playoffs, and had a just as good as record as all the top 4 teams, and they beat Ohio State.
They're a 2-loss team.
Okay, I stand corrected then. Yeah, they had 2 losses. But they beat Ohio State, who is ranked number 3, and they won their conference championship game.
They did.
So that's what his gripe is about. So they told him the 13th point, basically they call it 13th point. It's the 13th game, that championship game mattered, and then Penn State wins. They're the conference champ, and then they didn't get in, and they beat a team that's in the playoffs. So
different scenario though, because win-loss records aren't the same.
So. That's what his complaint, and I think it's a legitimate complaint, and I think the only way to fix it is to add more teams.
I think that's what he should be saying. He should be saying, I understand the teams that are in there now, but I think that you can legitimately argue that there are another handful of teams that should be able to be in there and have consideration. So we need to expand the playoffs to this number of teams. I think the ideal number would be 12. At least for a first expansion. I know you want to go bigger and have basically the whole top 25 in the playoffs.
I think they should have.
But
I think they should have 18 to 22 games. 18.
yeah, I think 12 would be good, and they could set it up the way they do the the NFL playoffs, where you have bye weeks for like the first, the top 2 seeds, and each conference how they get bye weeks. So in this case, these top 4 teams would all get bye weeks, and then the other teams would all be matched up against each other based on where they're at, and then tier into the matches against these 4 teams on bye weeks. That's what I'd like to see happen.
Yeah, the playoffs. I think I think they're gonna. I almost think they have to expand after this year, because they would have had a fucking mess on their hands had Clemson lost to that game. You know what I'm saying? So if Clemson had got by,
I don't know.
Beat by
I feel like if
Virginia
Clemson lost, then Penn State would have got in there.
Yeah, but then it would so I'd say they had a mess if Washington had lost to Colorado and Clemson had lost. They'd have a huge mess.
Because they would have had multiple teams that had very valid arguments.
So, yeah, exactly. So I think they skated by both of those teams winning, but they need to be prepared for these kinds of things, because eventually something like that is going to happen. Something like that is going to happen, and then we're going to be right back in the same mess.
The BCS and the NCAA are thugs. They don't really care about what anybody else thinks. I mean, they've proven that like time and time again. Like, it's all about how they get the money and the system they enjoy. But I do think that if commissioners like Bob Bowlesby would rail against them publicly and take up that fight, that people like the fans like we have, for decades, basically said that this needed to be. I think if these commissioners of these leagues would come forward and say the same thing, that there might actually be movement. But so far, that's not the argument they make. Instead, he makes some half-ass argument about how TCU got screwed a couple of years ago.
He did say that when the time comes, he's going to talk about it. He's going to pose these questions, as he would say. So.
Okay. So one day he'll be Morpheus.
So one day he'll grow a sack and fucking ask the goddamn questions.
And he'll give us the option of the 2 pills. But that day is not today. We won't go down the rabbit hole now.
Yeah. So the playoffs, they stand, like Bo said. So I'll just say, I picked Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Penn State in that order. And, of course, I was wrong. Bo got it right with the variation of the Ohio State and Clemson switch there in the ranks. So, and I think
I'm surprised they did that too, to be honest, because Clemson really struggled at a neutral site to beat Virginia Tech, who was a 3 and now 4 loss team. So I'm surprised they jumped them. But
did you see the reasoning behind that? Somebody had on ESPN. They said the reason was because Penn State won. That was the reason. Like the main factor in that was that Penn State won, so they had to come down a spot. So. And the factor
that seems asinine to me.
Well, there's a lot of factors in that too. The coaches and the AP poll have a lot to do with that, and so those are people voting on the playoffs. You know what? I think next year, we should have the slightly nocturnal top 25. I really do.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a big, so, after I move and the studio moves, the studio will be set up different. We'll have different camera shots. And I think that we'll keep an active playoff. We'll update it every Monday, just like the ESPN does. So I think that's something we should do. And then
you're going to end every show with a money shot?
Yeah, that's what I said, fucker. And also, I'm gonna. You will be able to run your own fantasy league next year. The Slightly Nocturnal is gonna have a fantasy league.
We're gonna have our own.
Yeah, so people can join it, and so all you people can fucking compete against the great Bo Machado here.
That's right. Hey, normally I am pretty good. So, in at least one league every year for the last 5 years, I had been in the championship game, and last year I won it. So I was the Buffalo Bills until last year. Of the early 90s, but last year I did win it.
You need to get in some of those free leagues that pay out, man.
I know that's what some of my friends tell me. They like some of the guys that I'm in that league with are in those things. So
They don't cost you any
with
money, and you
work and
can win
shit,
money.
it's just so much time to manage. Like I get real involved in it, and in
Well, it
fact, that's
sounds like
how
it.
I had a chance to make the playoffs, even with all the guys that I had injured. Is because I worked the waiver wire like I get paid to do it. And the more teams I have, the more time consuming that behavior becomes. And so I did not need I did not need to lose a federal job for fantasy football.
All right, so that's where the playoffs stand for college. There's lots of bowls going on. We won't. We don't even need to do all that. Um,
Yeah, no, they should be playoff games.
so there's plenty of room to make bigger playoffs. They just need to incorporate the bowls into it, and nobody loses any money on that. That is a win-win
Right.
situation. If anything, they gain money on it because it's a bigger scene. So, because
I did want to
I'm not
say,
exactly gonna watch the fucking, you know. I saw some bowl the other day. I was like, I'm not even gonna watch. Who the
I
fuck's
don't know.
watching that game?
Hey, on December 26th, the University of Maryland's in the Quick Lane Bowl at 2:30 p.m. against Boston College. So everybody tune in and cheer on the Terps.
There you go. That's a bowl game that I probably won't watch. But if it was a playoff game, I definitely would watch that shit. So.
Me too, but I'll watch it even though it's not a playoff
Well,
game.
it's because
Because it's my alum.
it's important to you. That's right. That's who
right.
watches those games. So, all right. So moving on here.
Yep. So we'll jump into NCAA basketball, and I have here. So I'm going to start with the top 25 entering the weekend. So number one was Kentucky, and they lost to UCLA. Number two was Villanova, who won. Number three was North Carolina, who beat Radford, but they had, as we mentioned last show, lost to Indiana. Number four was Kansas, who beat Stanford. Five was Duke, who beat Maine. Big win there, Doc. I know you love those Dukies playing those big schools like Maine. Number six was Virginia, who lost to West Virginia, and that's a big win for West Virginia. They'll probably jump into the top 25 soon, I would think. And I think that's probably West Virginia's first win against a top 10 team, and like maybe since Jerry West played basketball there or something. And for those fans of the NBA who didn't know, Jerry West is actually the guy that you see like on all the backboards and things like that. The image of the guy dribbling the basketball, that's Jerry West's image. Xavier is number 7. They lost to Baylor, so they'll probably fall out and Baylor will come up. Gonzaga beat Arizona. That's a nice win for Gonzaga. Baylor beat Xavier. That's a nice win for Baylor because I just should have known that since I just said Xavier lost to them. Creighton is number 10. They beat Akron. There's one of those teams you like, those little schools that don't play anybody.
What does that mean? I like St. John's.
Like Boise, well, you like in football, Boise State. You know, you like these schools that play these other, mid majors. That's what you like, the mid majors. That's what you like, buddy. 11 UCLA knocked off number 1 Kentucky. 12 is St. Mary's. They beat Stanford. 13 is Indiana. They beat Southeast Missouri State. That's not nearly as good a win as that win against Carolina was. 14 is Louisville. 15 Purdue. 16 Arizona, who lost to Gonzaga. 17 Wisconsin, who beat Oklahoma. 18 is Butler, who beat Central Arkansas. 19 is Iowa State, who lost to Cincinnati. 20 is South Carolina, who beat Florida International.
South
21
Carolina,
is Rhode
USC.
Island. Yeah, your Gamecocks.
My Gamecocks. I like the Gamecocks.
I know. I don't mind the Gamecocks. The name's a little dirty. I like things that are a little dirty. 21 is Rhode Island. They lost to Providence and Valpo in their last 2 games, so they may fall out of the top 25. 22 is Syracuse. They beat North Florida. They were actually playing tonight. Earlier, I was watching that game. They were losing when I had it on. Number 23 is Oregon, who beat Savannah State. 128-59. Jesus, Savannah State. I hope they paid you good for that game. 24 is Florida, who beat North Florida. And then 25 was West Virginia, who, as I mentioned earlier, knocked off number 6 Virginia. So that was a good win for WVU. Now our new top 25. That was the entering the weekend. Having left the weekend, and I'm just going to run down the teams starting at 1. So it's Villanova, UCLA, Kansas, Baylor, Duke, Kentucky. So Kentucky falls from 1 to 6 after losing to UCLA. North Carolina, Gonzaga, Indiana, Creighton, Louisville, St. Mary's, Xavier, Virginia, West Virginia. And then that's some bullshit. So West Virginia is 25 and beats Virginia, who's 6, and they're still behind. 16 is Butler, Wisconsin, Purdue. South Carolina's jumped to 19 now. Those cocks are getting their thing on. Arizona, Florida, Cincy, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Iowa State. And my Maryland Terps, who beat Oklahoma State by a point, still didn't make the top 25. But they did receive 9 votes. Come on, voters. You can do better than that. And that's our top 25.
Good shit.
And then my way too early Final Four.
Oh, God. We're doing this already? I'm not doing this right now.
I figured, fuck it. I was going through the whole top 25, so why not? So my way too early Final Four, UCLA, Kentucky, Indiana, and Duke. I like the depth and the way those teams have looked so far this year. And, well, it's December, so if I'm wrong, fuck it, who cares? But if I'm right, it's like a Guinness beer commercial, and I'm a genius. So, that's my take on sports.
Well, good shit. All right. Well, I think we probably need to wrap it up then.
Oh, we're going to wrap it up tonight, buddy.
Oh, for sure. So, make sure you check out our YouTube page for Kill Cobra Studios. That's where all the Slightly Nocturnal shit is at. We have a playlist on there, so if you want to catch this episode again or any past episodes, that's where they all are. Free of charge. Make sure you subscribe over there and like or dislike the videos. And, of course, put the comments in there if there's something that you want us to see or talk about. We check those out daily. We do try to comment back on most of them. If there is anything you want us to see during the day, you can tweet us out to Kill Cobra Studios on Twitter. Shout us out on Facebook and on Instagram. If you can, of course, you can talk to either myself or Bo on Twitter. We both have Twitter accounts there, so you can hit us up. All that stuff is in the links or in the description below in this video. You can find us all on there. If there's anything else that you want us to see, you can always email us, and our email is killcobrastudios@gmail.com. I want to again thank our sponsors tonight, TGN, NVIDIA, Ring the Bell, and Viper Blitz Gaming. We're of course presented by Kill Cobra Studios. I think that's my spiel. Thanks for everybody tuning in. I appreciate it. Make sure you share this with your friends. Bo, you got anything?
Oh, no. You forgot to tell people question everything, though.
Oh, I will. I'll sign off with that. I promise.
Oh, okay. No. Hey, I turned 40 tomorrow.
That's right.
So if
Happy
you're a drinking person,
Happy
have a
early
drink for
birthday
me.
to Bo Machado.
If you're a drugging person, enjoy yourself. And that's all I could think of. Thank you guys for tuning in. As the doc said, find us in all those places, like us in all those places, interact with us, let us know, what you're thinking, what you want us to talk about, any of that kind of good stuff.
That's right. Interact with us. We got nothing better to do during the day. We can talk to our fans.
Well, I got a government job.
Bullshit.
But it's a government job.
That's right. It's a government job.
And I'm accepted service.
All right. I'm Doc Holliday.
But you notice there's a bald spot right here. It's from the government thumb. Steady on me all day long.
I'm Doc Holliday. That's Bo Machado. We are the Slightly Nocturnal Show. Remember, motherfuckers, question everything. And think for your fucking selves. Have a fucking original thought. We will see you back here on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Just make sure you tune back in. You can catch, again, all the shows here on YouTube. You can play them over again. And we will see you then on Thursday. Everybody have a good week. We'll talk to you later.
Catch you on the flip side.